morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for our joint webinar today, which we're very excited about. I'm pleased to be hosting this webinar as Lynton Lasers. My name is Hayley. I'm the Marketing and Sales Director at Lynton, if you don't know me. And we are delighted to be joined this morning by Martin and Ron. Martin, of course, is the UK Country Manager for Hydrafacial, and Ron, the Director at the Consulting Room. So thanks for joining us, guys. This is going to be a good one today. I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
So how are you both doing? Should we have we've still got people piling in, so should we do a couple of minutes of just letting people kind of get acclimatized and get sorted, and tell people how the businesses are doing at the moment? How's things at Hydrafacial, Martin?
Yeah, well, they're certainly a bit different.
Yeah.
Most of the team have been furloughed. We've got a sort of skeleton staff, predominantly marketing, that are still sending out information to clinics. We've been producing a lot of video content, training and sort of marketing message, that sort of thing. I mean, things are, it's strange really, because obviously no one knows really when we're going back, but I mean, we just had another order today, so people are preparing for when things start and get back to normal. I think a lot of people are working on June, early June as being when they think it may happen. So we're kind of just making plans really for what we can do when that does, and how we can sort of support clinics. We put quite a lot of things in place in the short term. In the meantime, to put all of invoicing on hold. So people that had any outstanding debt, I think on March the 23rd, that got sort of suspended for months, and service contracts and things. So we've been trying to really help people where possible. We've carried out a call around, so we've got somebody ringing all of the clinics to see how they are, try and test the mood, and see what support we can offer.
Yeah, I saw your payment freeze. I thought it was fantastic.
No, thanks. Yeah,
it's what we need to do, isn't it? You know, it's the way forward.
I mean, there's very little point in not trying to support anyone. You know, we're sort of symbiotic, really. Is, you know, that without the clinics, there's no distance for us. So we've got to support them, and help people through it. And you know, Ron and myself used to own a clinic, so we know what they're going through, and it's difficult. So you've just got to do what you can where possible. And luckily, Hydrafacial from the US have supported us in that, and hopefully that will carry on throughout this until I don't think normality is going to be the same thing, but until the new normal.
The new normal, yeah. And you've been doing loads of webinars, Ron, really useful content as well to help support clinics.
Well, thank you, Hayley. I mean, like you've been doing exactly the same thing. And I think really all we've been doing is trying to reflect what we're doing as small business owners. You know, we're living this ourselves as well. We've been going through the furlough process and how to do that. We've been going through looking at negotiating with landlords. We've been looking at business loans with our bank manager. So what we try to do is to reflect, hopefully, some of the things that we've been going through with some experts in those areas, and just asking them the kinds of questions that we're asking them to reflect through to other people, and hopefully some bits of information will help them, because it's confusing. It can actually be overwhelming for some people as well. And I think the problem is that a lot of people have kind of like furloughed a lot of their staff, and then all of that responsibility then just comes down to them. Alongside what a lot of marketing people are doing, and I'm sure you are, and we are, and Martin is as well, as saying, don't lose sight of your customers. Still keep talking to them. There are still opportunities for sales there, and you know, my own daughter has generated, I think, something like £4,000 or £5,000 in retail sales in the last few weeks, just from her own bedroom at home, and she's got a tiny business, so it's definitely possible.
Oh yeah.
And then really just, you know, looking ahead, hopefully to maybe early June, when we can all kind of, you know, trade again, and then making sure that we've got all the plans in place so that we start from, you know, with a flourish really from week one.
Yeah. And well, the purpose of today's webinar is to help people with that, isn't it? So to help people to start producing content now that is valuable right now whilst we're in lockdown, but also really valuable as we move into the future as well. So
absolutely,
I'm hoping that it is a really useful webinar for people. And we've got the little competitions and prizes to get people excited as well. So, so for those of you that haven't been into a webinar before, let me just explain what you can do to interact with us. So it depends on what device you're on, but you should be able to see all 3 speakers at the moment. If you can't, then just have a go at pressing a few buttons around your screen. If you're on a phone, there's different views. You can view in a gallery setting, and that allows you to see all 3 of us at once, which is a bit of a nicer experience. And if you're on your laptop, then just have a little look around the Zoom platform, and you'll see some options there to look at us in different ways. And then you'll also see on the screen somewhere that you have a button called Q&A. So you can drop in all of the questions into that Q&A, and that's the best place to put them. So you can chat in the chat bar, and I know some of you are saying good morning to us there, so hi and good morning to you. But that doesn't get recorded after the webinar, so we'll try and answer as many questions as we can, but we've got over 200 clinics signed up, so we might not get through them all. If you put your question in the Q&A box, I will get a printout of those questions. So after the webinar, we can try and get back to you with any responses to those as well. And if you don't have time to attend the whole session, don't worry, it will be available to watch on demand on YouTube after we've finished. So, shall we get started?
Yep.
Right, let me just share my screen then so that everybody can see our presentation. And everyone should now be able to see the screen. Martin and Ron, can you see that there?
Can indeed, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll get started. Over to you.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, many thanks, Hayley, just for inviting us on this call and for inviting us as Consulting Room as well to kind of explain what we're doing with this content creation challenge, and for supporting our endeavours really to try and help clinics create the right sort of video content that will help them with their business. So the challenge actually stems from a great book that I read last year called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And it really resonated with me as a small business owner, as a marketing book that really focuses on education versus what we'll call traditional sales and marketing copy. And I've got a biology degree, and I've always been really passionate about learning and education. And that's part of the reason really that we put together the Consulting Room 18 years ago, to provide hopefully what is a quality information resource for consumers. And what the book explains is that really everyone now has access to limitless information on their phone. And what most people are doing when they type something into a search engine really is looking for an answer to a question about whether a product or service is really right for them. And in many industries, I think especially in the aesthetic industry, a lot of the information on people's websites can be embellished, focusing on all of the benefits of the treatment or product, and especially linked to images of the very, very best outcomes that could be achieved. And I think, however, consumers are often confused really about which treatments are really right for them for their particular problem. And sometimes they're really often not ready or don't want to actually phone a clinic. So I think if a business attempts to educate rather than sell via things such as desired tactics, such as discounts and offers, I believe personally that they will start to gain more trust. I think trust is really important in terms of getting people to contact you. So another thing that many clinics claim as well is that they're experts in treating all of the different sorts of problems that they claim to solve, but actually very few really evidence expertise with what I consider to be the right sort of content. So I think that clinics that embrace this concept will hopefully outcompete their local competitors in actually displaying their authority as someone who has real depth of understanding and knowledge in their area of expertise, if that makes sense. And really this is the crux for me. I think displaying authority and expertise is, in my mind, the biggest advantage of undertaking content marketing. However, if you're clever and also optimize the content in the right way and on the right platforms, you'll also benefit from an increased chance of your business coming higher in search engine results. Could we move to the next slide, please, Hayley? Smashing. So why are we focusing this around video? Because obviously there are all sorts of different forms of content that you can provide. Well, personally, I think that most people provide content in text format or on their treatment or FAQ pages on their website, but actually very few do longer form content around subjects via blog posts. But as the majority of searches are now done on mobile phones, I think personally the preferred route of consumption of content is now via video rather than reading it. And I think another important aspect as well, especially in our market, which focuses on aesthetics and image, is that people buy from people that they trust. So if someone watches a video of a practitioner who gives good quality information and helps to answer some of their questions about the treatments that they're interested in, I believe personally that immediately starts to build trust. So we also recommend that any video content that you create be uploaded to YouTube. I know some people who now watch more YouTube videos on their television than digital network channels. And I personally believe, I think there's a huge opportunity for clinics to build a YouTube channel, optimize videos that will be found through consumer searches. And in addition, these videos can also just be simply linked to the appropriate pages in your website. Could we move to the next slide, please, Hayley? Lovely. So, although within the consulting room, we got over, I think it's over 500,000 pages of information in the consulting room, we realized that we don't have a great depth of video content that really revolves around the thousands of different questions that consumers have in their head, and that we probably really don't currently answer properly on our site. So the challenge that we put together is really simple and straightforward. If you've got a mobile phone and 5 minutes, even in your home, you can actually participate in this right now. So all you need to do is to get your phone, press record, and and give a specific answer to a specific question that you have knowledge about, and maybe that you're passionate about as well, and that will help a consumer. You can then have that content put in your YouTube channel, link it to your website, but also submit it to the consulting room. And what we really want to do is to feature the best answers to questions on our website that helps consumers. And we're not really looking for the longest answer to a question or even the most professionally produced. We're just looking for really what we consider to be the best answer to that particular question. So apart from benefiting from having your video featured for the, I think, average 80,000 visitors that we get every month to the consulting room, we're also offering 10 free memberships and a special £1,000 prize. We're calling it a freedom voucher for the best overall video, where someone can hopefully go away for a long weekend or a week somewhere really nice, because I'm sure that we're all kind of thinking about that at this point in time. So in summary, if people are interested in producing great content for their own business and submitting videos to the consulting room, really to enter, all you need to do is just visit www.consultingroom.com/challenge for more information.
One of the really interesting things that you mentioned in there is about people using YouTube as a search platform rather than Google. So my 14-year-old niece doesn't search for things on Google. Her first port of call is to search on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you did a really interesting test, didn't you, Ron, where you asked YouTube a question.
I did, yeah. I've done a video, and in fact, I'm just tracking this now. I did it on Monday, actually, and I just answered the question, is laser hair removal permanent forever? And that's what I did. Instead of doing it from a video of my face, what I did, I just put together 4 slides. Some people, whatever you discuss around doing things from a personal perspective, are still uncomfortable about having their own face on a video. So one other way of doing that is just to do a few slides in PowerPoint, which is all I did, and just answered that question, which really relates to the confusion between permanent hair removal and permanent hair reduction. Mm-hmm. And really, when I searched that question into Google, there wasn't anything that really answered into YouTube, there wasn't anything that really answered that question, I think, in the best way. So I have put it out there, and I think in 4 days, it's already coming up the rankings. I'm hoping that in a few extra days, it will be top, and it just shows how potentially
it won't be, Ron, because I'll be flooding the answer to that question when we get off this.
You will, Hayley. And absolutely, we should do that. And everyone really should go to YouTube and start to look at typing in the sorts of questions that consumers ask them, and just see what comes up. And often the content's just, even now, and it amazes me, after all these years, a lot of the content there is not optimized, or actually just not really well put together, and doesn't answer that specific question properly.
YouTube is the second biggest search engine, I think.
It is.
So after Google, so definitely an untapped resource.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think as well, people they assume that everyone does what they do, and I'm mid to late 40s, and so YouTube didn't exist when I was a sort of young 20-odd-year-old, and you know, that's how they consume information now. So, you know, I personally prefer to read, but lots of other people would want video. And you've just got to cater for those, because they are the next generation of clients that are coming into the business. So, you know, and they're actively looking, they're actively interested. And in many cases, they've got the money, the time, and the desire to take these treatments. You've just got to fulfill the way that they would consume information.
And I expect, I don't know, but I would expect that the current situation we're in kind of catapults us a bit further forward along that journey, perhaps. So we've got people who now are Zooming, are, you know, accessing YouTube a lot more, you know, have become a lot more tech savvy, let's say, in the last couple of weeks. And so, you know,
even I can use Zoom.
It won't just be the younger, it won't just be the younger demographic, will it? It will be.
And I think people have the one commodity that they probably never had before, which is time. And it's interesting. I actually get all of the leads that come into Hydrafacial, and it's amazing the number you get that come in between the hours of 12 and 3 in the morning. And it's obviously people are just sat on their phone searching for things. You know, they may pick up a video, they may just pick up on something that we've gone out with on social media. And it leads them to then contacting through the site. So it's strange the times that people look, but I think people now have the time. And you know, speaking to a lot of clinic owners, as I've done over the last few weeks, they're really looking at what do they need to do differently, or what do they need to add, or how can they come out of this in a positive way and hit the ground running. So I think people are looking for either something new to bring in, or just how they can improve. And what they can do to attract more customers or their customers back. And certainly video is definitely the way for that. And it's changed as well. The expectation of what a video should be is very different from how it was 10 years ago, where you would have the correct lighting, the correct background, everyone would have a script, and you'd keep refilming it until it was perfect. Now, good enough is good enough. And I think that's something that people should really tap into and utilize that.
Yeah. Which leads us sort of on to, we've had a question from the audience, which sort of leads into your section, Martin, just on how you know what questions to be answering.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the challenges is trying to find out what people are going to be searching for, because what you want is your video to answer the question that they're asking. So you've got to try and understand what they're asking. And I think that the logical first place to ask is really your clients. You know what questions they've been asking when they come in. If you don't do the treatments yourself, then speak to what the team member that does, and ask what questions do they ask. So for Hydrafacial, you know, it could be how often do I need to have the treatment? How many treatments do I need? And that way you can produce a video that answers those questions. So, you know, even in a face-to-face environment where they're in the clinic and maybe even having the treatment, they'll still be asking questions. And those will likely to be questions that people that are searching for these treatments will also be asking. So often, you know, just ask around or think about questions that you've been asked in the clinic. The other thing is obviously make sure it's something you're confident in answering. And I think it also works better where it's something that you're interested or have got an area of expertise in. So if your speciality is acne, then talk about acne, but think about the questions people may type in for an acne search.
There was a point raised about who should answer the question, wasn't there, depending on who's doing what treatments in the business? Yeah.
I mean, it really depends. I mean, personally, I think if you're doing the treatments, you've probably got a more in-depth understanding and knowledge. Obviously, right now, particularly for Hydrafacial, that would generally be the therapist. There's a few doctors that do the treatment, but predominantly it's a therapist or a nurse within a business that's doing it. So they may be furloughed currently. So, I mean, you can unfurlough people for a day if you want. I mean, or if you want to be seen as the face of your business, you can do it. But I think sometimes there's no harm in having your therapists producing that, because they will be the face that the person sees when they come in for those treatments. So often you know, people are nervous sometimes before they come into a clinic, and if they see who they're going to see, it helps to reduce that nervousness. So they've already got over that, oh, what's the person going to look like, who are they going to be, nervousness that they may have before then. The other thing is if you've got any existing content as well, so if you've got before and after pictures that you can put into your video of the specific subject you're talking about, or even if you've got like a patient testimonial video, they're quite easy now to attach onto a video, so you can integrate that to within a video that you're doing as well. So I mean, it's worth having a look at what you've got in your files and hard drives and things that you can integrate within a video that you're producing. And there's various tools you can download that make that quite easy now. Do you want to go to the next slide? So I asked the team what they commonly asked. As we said, there are software tools, and if you use Google Chrome and type KeywordSurfer into Google Chrome, you can actually attach this. I guess it's an app kind of thing, and so whenever you search, and if you go to the next slide, I've put a copy of. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So in here, you can see on the, I'm pointing at my screen, you can't tell. There's the surfer thing there, so it tells you what similar keywords. But if you look at the main question I've typed into Google, what is Hydrafacial? There are 140 searches a month in the UK on that. And so your questions or your video could answer that question, because you know there's 140 people that are searching for that in any given area. So it does give you, you can just type in a whole series of questions around the treatment you want to talk about and see what ranks as a highly searched per month question. This one, as I said, the one that's with Google Chrome, it is a free one, so it's not massively accurate potentially, but it does give you an idea around what's happening there. So it should give you some useful information and good places to start. On the right hand side of the screen, you can see there's similar keywords that people are talking about. So you've got acne facial London, so you can see that 170 people a month are searching for that. So again, it just gives you an idea of really what people are asking, and then you can gauge your answer and target your answer to those questions. So if you want to go to the next slide. So you can also just use basic Google itself. So again, if you go to the next slide, what I've done in there is, again, just typed Hydrafacial. So the first thing that drops down when you do that is you'll get a number of questions that people are typing in. And then also just below, sometimes the paid for ads, you then get people also ask section. So what is a Hydrafacial good for? How often should you get a Hydrafacial? So again, these are questions that come up automatically that you can then target your video to answer. So there are various ways that you can do it. And what's interesting is if you go to the next slide, I'll talk about then asking in YouTube. So you can go into a YouTube search. So if you then, knowing that that's what people are asking in Google, type in how often should I get a Hydrafacial into YouTube. I mean, the first video there, it is to do with Hydrafacial, but it's not answering the question. The second one, it's an American video, but it is answering the question. So everything else, I mean, the next one is one of our videos, Hydrafacial UK. So you can see that if you answer the question and you have it targeted and meta tagged correctly, you'll be able to come quite highly up there because you're the correct video for that answer. So it's quite easy to suddenly become number 1 or 2 or 3 within that search within YouTube. Okay. So if you go to the next slide. So we're joining the consulting room on this challenge. So we've actually linked up with consulting room during this. Obviously, I'm involved in consulting room as well, so it was a logical step. So we've been repurposing a lot of Ron's videos that he's been producing for our customers, and we thought that it'd be great to get people to create videos around Hydrafacial and questions that people commonly asked. So we're going to provide an additional prize, so you may win both. If the consulting room team select a Hydrafacial video as the winner, you could win twice. And so we're going to be offering either a Hydra pack, which is worth a minimum of £250 to a clinic, or one of the things that Hydrafacial in the States have been doing. Obviously, they're they're in lockdown as well, from a Hydrafacial manufacturer at the moment. But their engineers have been making ventilators. They've moved the people that answer the telephones to take orders. They're all working in telemed, so they're working in triage of people that have got virus so they can get to see a doctor. And then over the last sort of 12 months, they've been working with a company that produces an anti-aging fabric. And so it's a copper infused fabric. And they've been working with those for potentially the next generation of Hydrafacial. But what they've done in the short term is they've pivoted the manufacturer to make copper infused washable masks. And so one of the advantages of copper, as well as being anti-aging, it's also antimicrobial and antibacterial. So generally within 3 hours, bacteria is killed that comes into contact with the copper. So we will be next week launching these washable, reusable masks that you can wash up to 30 times, and there's no degradation of the copper at all. And I think that's probably something that's going to be fairly common, that people in clinic, therapists and patients will be wearing masks. So we'll be launching those to clinics as well. So we've added those to part of the price. So one of the things you need to do is when you produce your video, if you upload it into YouTube, is then hashtag us at Hydrafacial UK and use the hashtag Hydrafacial Positivity. We will also then share it out on our channels, and potentially as well, the videos we will use within our own website as well, because these are lots of the questions that customers that are looking for treatments may be having in their head. So if we've got videos that are there that can answer those questions by our customers, that would be great.
And when does your competition end? And when do people have to submit for?
That's a very good question. I should have checked with the marketing team beforehand. I think we've done it at the end of May off the top of my head, but certainly we can let everyone know. But I think it's to end at the end of May, because we're going on the assumption that hopefully things may reopen in June.
So
yeah, just to say for consulting room, it's the end of June.
By the way, everyone, what we'll do is after this webinar, we will send an email to everyone, because we're going to go on to talk about a few little tools and things to actually create your videos. So what we can do is we can put a more thorough overview of the competition into that email and send it to everyone, so you know exactly where you need to send your videos to and when they need to be in for. Okay.
Thanks. I'm just emailing them now to find out.
Perfect. Okay. Are we okay to move on, Martin? Or
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry.
All right, super. So we're getting involved as well, and we're setting a competition for our Lynton customers. So whereas Hydrafacial have got one system that does our treatment, we've got millions of treatments that you can do. So this should be interesting. We could go forever and ever producing video content, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And very much the same as Ron and Martin here, the advantage is it's win-win. So if you produce this video content, you put it onto YouTube, you transcribe it, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but transcribe it and tag it properly, then link it to your website. Massive benefit for you from an SEO perspective. But we can also tag that video into our website as well. So it really all makes a big difference versus your competitors that some of them may not even be using video at all. So by being here and by being in this competition and by producing these videos, you are one step ahead of your competitors already. So well done for doing that, and thanks so much for getting involved. Looking forward to seeing your videos. We have a top prize of £1,000 worth of Lynton skincare for our best video. And if you don't use the skincare and you're a laser customer, then you can have that credited to your account to use for training courses or for servicing or whatever you like. So £1,000 to our winner. And I didn't put a hashtag in, but that's a very good idea. I'll send that in the email, but definitely hashtag we use Lynton, hashtag Lynton Lasers, and we'll repurpose this and get it over social media and get as involved as we can in helping to promote your content that you put together. So we've had a couple of questions from the audience now, which is really about the ins and outs of putting the videos together. So I'm going to run through some top tips, but I don't know if Ron and Martin, if you can just hover over the Q&A button, you'll be able to see some of the questions in there. So if there's things that are relevant as I'm going through these, then feel free to ask me as we go through. Okay. So we've put together some tips for better talking heads videos. So these sorts of videos that you'll be producing, these are not, as Ron said, then and Martin said, they don't need to be super slick, super professional. If you try to do that, it may just delay you from getting as much content out as you could. And the key here really is more the content as opposed to the video itself. So the video quality, let's say, itself. But with that said, you have to get people to engage with the content. And by engaging, that means they're interested in the video from start to finish. They finish it. They don't start and 15 seconds, they drop out. So how can you maximize the engagement that you get from your audience? There's just a few simple tips that you can follow. The first one is to set your objectives. So we've given you a structure or a format here for a video, which is to answer a question. So just as we've said, think about the question, write down some of the key things that you want to get across in your video. Make sure you finish by promoting your business, start by introducing yourself, for example, so you have a starting sentence planned, a finishing sentence planned, but don't overly script it, because people don't mind if you fluff up a bit, you know, people actually like that. It's nice and human. So it's definitely a good idea to just have a little bit of an objective, but don't overthink it too much. The second thing I would say is smile, okay? People may hover over this on social media, and if they see a smiley face, that is more engaging. If you're passionate about what you talk about, if you smile, if you talk about customer stories, you know, these sorts of things, they're really engaging. So, you know, hand movements are very good in these sorts of videos. So we'll talk about positioning the camera in a minute to kind of get your hands in and just smile and have fun and enjoy. There's a guy, Richard Crawford Small, who's a consultant in the aesthetics world. Definitely worth checking his Facebook group, The Aesthetic Entrepreneurs. I'll send you a link to it. But he is really, really good at helping you with confidence in videos. So if this is an area where you do feel like it takes you out of your comfort zone, then it's definitely worth tapping into some of his resources to help with confidence. And one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me for video is people want you to succeed. People don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed. They want to see you do well. You know, you'll get great engagement from your audience. They'll leave you lovely comments afterwards. So yeah, smile and have fun with them. Use a good quality camera. It's definitely okay to do this on a smartphone. Ideally, you would have a smartphone that's been produced within the last, say, 3 years. So typically the camera's really up their game in the phones about 3 years ago. So it's worth just looking, you know, to film your video, look at the quality. Is it crisp enough? Certainly a lot of the modern smartphones are. And then the fourth one is avoid the camera shake. So I see a lot of these videos where people are holding the phone themselves and filming it, and there is a certain amount of shake in there. So I'm going to actually share with you a PDF that's been put together by our video company, Jigsaw Creative. And they've put together a big long PDF with loads of links in to find different tools. So one of them is they found a tripod, which is really good for filming to put your smartphone on for the filming. And it's from a company called Linkcool. It's about 20 quid on Amazon. It's really good. I've got like this little funny War of the Worlds stick thing that I use for my filming at home, and this cost me about 11 quid on Amazon. So give you some links to these tools, but they're very good to just help keep your camera nice and still. And then your positioning is important. So we don't want you to be down here like this. We don't want you to look like this. Ideally, You want to be nice and in the middle of the screen. And most social media platforms, and YouTube as well, displays its content in landscape format. So film your video like this, not portrait. If you film your video portrait, then on YouTube, you'll have big black lines either side of your video. So just turn your camera, make sure you're in landscape, and that will give you a better, it will just look better and slicker when it's actually on the social media platforms. Any questions so far? Or
I think a couple of questions that I think have overlapped here about the length of the video. What's the optimum length?
yeah, okay. So we're going to come on. We'll come on to. I'll do length now. So
Okay.
For the purpose of this competition and for consulting rooms, I would advise a maximum of 2 minutes. Now, 2 minutes is about it's about 1,000 words in a blog. So you can get across an awful lot of information in 2 minutes. It's about that engagement and people starting to drop off. If you feel like there's too much information for you to get across in 2 minutes, maybe you're answering too many questions, maybe you need to break it into a series of smaller questions. So about 2 minutes. Now, just for videos in general, it depends on the platform that you're using. So YouTube, you can do a video for as long as you like. Instagram TV will let you do a video for 10 minutes. Twitter has a limit of 2 minutes 20 seconds. Normal Instagram 60 seconds. So it's dead easy to find what the length of video should be if you're looking for a particular site to post on. But I think that 2 minutes for our videos is going to be about right. I don't know what you think, Ron and Martin, whether you sort of set a time limit or anything, or
Martin, do you want to go first?
We haven't set a time limit, but I agree it needs to be relatively short and to the point, and probably certainly beyond 3 minutes would probably be too long for most questions, and you're probably answering more than one at the same time. Just one thing I would add is obviously a lot of laptops as well have very good cameras now, and it's easy to do a video via Zoom or something and record. And anyone that's seen my social media feeds would know that I use an ironing board. It's height adjustable. So it is something that you can use. It's the only time I ever use an ironing board, I hasten to add. But it does give you the ability to adjust height. So that's just a cheap and quick and easy way to do it. So you can just rest it on that and then put it as high as you want.
yeah.
You can help reduce chins and things if you have it higher than you maybe normally would.
It's good to have something that you can move around. It's not perhaps the best to have yourself set up in just one location, because the lighting during the day will change. So depending on when you're filming your video, I've found in the last few weeks that I've needed to move around the house and be in different places when I'm doing the videos because the lighting's different. So it's just worth having a nice easy little tripod or ironing board that you can whiz from room to room as you need to.
Yeah. The only thing I would add, I agree with you about the length for this. I think anything over about 3 minutes is probably too long. And the other thing as well is just make sure your answer isn't too technical. Remember who you're talking to here. You're not talking to a colleague. You're talking to consumers. So make it as simple as straightforward as possible. Don't use technical jargon.
I think that's really important. A lot of what we see communicated to potential customers is often talking about the features of a device. To try and focus actually on the benefits rather than the features, because features tend to be more technical and they don't actually explain what does that mean to the client or to the person that's going to be searching for these things. So they want to know about benefits, not necessarily about features.
You could try it out with a few friends, couldn't you? Friends that aren't in the industry or haven't had the treatment before, and just bounce a couple of questions off them and see what they think.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, so audio and lighting, if you've got a good smartphone or laptop, then you may not need anything at all for audio. It depends on the quality of the microphone in your device. But again, you can get these little lapel mics for about £10 on Amazon, which work quite well. And we'll send you some details of some good ones for you to order if you want to. And yeah, lighting, you want the light on you, so in front of you, but behind your device. So I have, for example, right in front of me, the window, and then my device, and then me, and that gives you really nice lighting. Here is an important one. About 80% of social media video is viewed with the audio muted. So people are scrolling through things on their phone with the audio on silent. Maybe they're sat with their partner and their partner's watching TV and they don't want the video to just suddenly start playing. So you can subtitle your videos incredibly easily. This is a really, really easy thing to do. I'm going to send you a link to a blog which walks you through it step by step. But adding subtitles on is just, again, going to mean that you get that engagement. You know, people will start watching it, you know, with their audio muted, and you're more likely to capture people's attention. A little bit on backgrounds then. So they do not need to be super slick and super professional, but it is nice just to think about what is in the background. So you can see that I've got a banner here. It cost me about 95 quid. So it's dead easy to get something like this, and Martin's got one behind him as well. We get those banners for about 45 quid. So it's not a lot of money to invest in something like that. I'm seeing a lot of clinics now doing videos in their gardens. The sun's shining, they're talking to their audience. I think that's absolutely fine for right now, if you're saying something right now to somebody. But this piece of content is going to be used for years on different sites. So I do think that if you're going to take the time to produce something now, produce it so that it's suitable after lockdown as well. Because in 3 years' time, it's going to look a bit odd if you're in the garden talking about acne. So yeah. Virtual backgrounds. For those of you that really struggle, like you feel like you don't have a space, I'll send you some instructions for how to do a virtual background. You'll have seen some of these, and you can just put whatever you like behind you. So you can have your logo and all sorts of things behind you very easily. So again, that's an option for you if you don't have an ideal area to film in. And then my last tip is just make sure you upload it to YouTube. So YouTube is definitely a place for you to add your videos to. Really simple to start a YouTube channel where you can upload to. You can get some really cool apps and programs that will transcribe that video for you. So they'll write out all of the words for you. And if that is then added to the description of your videos, then that helps with the SEO, and it helps for making sure that your question gets put in front of the people that are asking that question. Your answer gets put in front of the people asking the question. And then once you've got it transcribed, you can actually repurpose it into a blog. So that can go onto your website, and that can be really good for your SEO as well. So lots of cool things that you can do here. And yeah, we can't go in depth with every single one, but I'll send you a pretty detailed PDF, and then there's loads of free online resources where you can get really super slick with your videos if you want to. But the main thing is, don't let these things necessarily be challenges that stop you just producing the content. Because right now, there's not a lot of competition out there for videos. So anything that you do is better, than the competition right now. So just crack on and get producing, and then they'll get better over time. So that's my top tips, really. I guess there should be some questions, I would have thought, coming in.
I've just seen one of the questions here. I think it's been asked a couple of times about, is it one entry per person? So for Consulting Room, if you give us 100 videos and we think they're all great, we'll stick them on the website, and that'll go in the list of other videos that are submitted in terms of our competition and the top 10 that we judge for the prize.
Yeah, it's the same for us as well. You're welcome to submit as many as you want. So yeah, knock yourselves out. The more the merrier, really. I think it's just to encourage people really to start producing these sort of things.
Yeah. Same for us, certainly. The more the better. Yeah.
So I've heard back from our marketing team as well. So we're closing ours at the same time as Consulting Room are. So it's going to be at the end of June as well. So we'll run this till the end of June.
Someone's asked about the best app for video editing. I'll put in a couple of different apps. It depends whether you're on your computer or on your phone. Like if you're using an Apple iPhone, then iMovie is a really good app for editing. But I can recommend a couple of apps for video editing.
There is a question as well about can you unfurlough for a day, or does it need to be a week? And you and I were discussing this yesterday, Ron. So do you want to go into a bit more detail about that?
From what I understand, and just double check as well with your HR specialist, but from what I understand, people, when you put people on furlough, they have to be furloughed for 3 weeks continuously, but then you can take people off for a few days or a week and then put them back onto furlough again. But just double check, because with all of these things, it seems as though some of the information that's kind of out there isn't necessarily accurate like a week later. But certainly it's something that I think some of us are going to have to consider. You know, if we're anticipating maybe all relaunching our businesses in June, we probably don't want to wait until the end of May before we gain some support and start to plan around how to open our business up.
Mm. Okay, question regarding, can you explain in more detail how you attach pictures and testimonials to a YouTube video? I can't, but I can give you some resources and people that can tell you how to. So I'm led to believe it's very easy, but we do have we have a separate company that edits our videos, which if you're going to produce a lot of a lot of video, that might be worth investing in. But I had a quick scan over the instructions for putting in a picture, like a slide, or adding some like cool graphics into your videos, and it doesn't look overly complicated. So we'll send you a resource for that. And as I said, I'm sure there's lots more online as well to tap into.
Yeah, there's another one as well about, I think, uploading to YouTube as well. In our challenge page, we've actually got a downloadable guide about how to optimize videos for YouTube channels. And again, you know, searching the internet, there's loads of information out there that's freely available to help people with that. So it's not particularly difficult. It's just following a set of instructions.
Yeah.
Somebody's made a good comment about the unfurloughing for a day. It's from Lindsay McEnroe, so hi Lindsay. It says that you can unfurlough for a day, but obviously if you unfurlough them, you do need to pay that staff member at 100% unless you agree,
of course,
something different. So just be aware that obviously they're then not under the furlough pay scheme, and then you can just furlough them again the next day as long as they do 3 consecutive weeks.
Mm-hmm.
There were also a couple of questions about the mask. We're going to be sending information out next week about those, sort of more technical details about them, and the pricing and how to order as well. And I'll probably talk sweetly to Ron and see if we can get something sent out via Consulting Room as well. So we'll send it out all via our newsletter and also via Consulting Room. So we'll give out the information about those as well.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I know that the topic wasn't for this. There's a couple of questions about the end of the lockdown and what would we do, and I don't know whether we want to answer those or not, or discuss what you're planning to advise your clinics, Hayley.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is worth talking about because well, let me address the question about how to get the info after the call, and then we can kind of round up the video section. And then if people want to ask us any more questions about the operations of Lynton or Hydrafacial or just running a clinic, then we can hang on and answer a couple of Q&As. So because you registered for the webinar with an email address, I've got that email address, so I'll be able to email to you after this webinar a link so you can rewatch it. But also I'll attach a PDF which will have lots of advice and guidance, how to subtitle your videos, how to add pictures into your videos. I'll put the link into the Consulting Room Challenge where you can find the downloadable guide for how to put things into YouTube. And I've just made a few notes as we've gone through and touched on a few points. So you'll get an email from us by the end of tomorrow, by the end of this week, with all of this information on. And if you've any questions or you want to get in touch at all, then I'm just on info@lynton.co.uk. So if you don't receive it or you have something else to ask, then just info@lynton.co.uk. You can send me through and I can farm those out to Ron and Martin if they're for you guys as well. Okay, does the video have to contain Hydrafacial content only?
For Hydrafacial, yeah. But obviously for the consulting room composition, no, that's for any treatment, topical, or really anything that you want to talk about that's relevant to the aesthetics industry.
Okay. Okay, so which procedures do we see taking off after lockdown is over? Lynton, you have to buy a Lynton laser. They're the ones that are going to fly off the shelf. I don't know. Bit of a mix, really.
I mean, if you speak to a lot of people, I mean, obviously, people are so far, I think it's about 4 or 5 weeks in now. So the standard things like, people are going to want to get their hair done, their nails done, their feet done, or whatever it is they normally do. And I think people are just going to want to do things that make them feel good as well. Not only is it that you've not been able to do anything to yourself, but also, it's been quite a trying time mentally for a lot of people, and people are worried, nervous. So I think it's those treatments that people can find relaxing and get. I always call it the moment, because I've never found a better way of describing it. But really get the relaxing as well as a result, I think is going to be a popular one. I think probably things that aren't too invasive, too painful. Nobody's going to want anything that involves downtime straight away, because they're not going to go, I'm out, and then suddenly go, no, I've got to stay in for a week. So I think really I'd focus on certainly the non-downtime creating treatments. I think will be probably the most in demand, and those that give people a relaxation moment as well.
I think if you're wondering where to start, if you have a clinic that does lots of different treatments and you're not sure where to start, like your best sellers is a good one. We talked about this yesterday in the virtual consultations. Just think about what you sell the most of and start there. It probably will be the best sellers come back first. So that's probably a good place to start. You could look at what you were selling well this time last year, and that's probably likely to be similar this year, I think.
I think that the smart clinics as well are looking back into their database now, and obviously looking at their top spending customers and the repeat customers.
Yeah.
So, the ones that have been regularly coming in for injectable treatments, whether that's toxins or fillers or hydrofacials or any other treatment, or retail or whatever, it's absolutely people need to be talking to those people and phoning them up now. Some of those people will be wanting probably priority, and the last thing you want to do is to fill your diary up in the first 3 or 4 weeks, which could happen, and then miss out on some of your top customers who want to come back in. So I think kind of anticipating that is not a bad idea. And some of the smart clinics that we know have already anticipated, rightly or wrongly, that we're going to be starting again from June and are already booked up for the next 3 weeks. So don't miss that as an option. Don't just wait for people to contact you. Talk to your top customers.
I know a number of clinics that have been selling packages through Zoom consultations and things right the way throughout this, as well as selling skincare and things. So absolutely communicate with your top customers. Those, one of the things we've always promoted was selling courses and having people prepay via Go Cardless. Those people, even if you suspended the Go Cardless, it's go back to them and talk about when you're going to open, and that you'll initiate the Go Cardless charges and bring those in, because that enables you to get people in for a nice treatment, and then you can discuss the other things that they may or may be looking for. But it also enables you to get your therapist out of furlough, because there's a revenue coming in straight away. So I think that's probably a good place to start.
And someone's asked, can we talk about Botox? How does that work in terms of advertising restrictions?
Oh, can we talk about Botox from a video? Sorry.
I think that's what the question meant in terms of advertising restrictions, I think.
Yeah. My assumption, you're answering a question. So as long as it's not an overtly promotional aspect, it's great, is the honest thing. And it probably depends on how well you get on with your local clinics as to whether they're going to report you for it or not. And then it's touch and go whether you would get the letter that you get from the ASA. But I think really you're answering a question. So somebody's typing it, they're not going to get you unless they type in that question.
Mm.
If you then put it all over your website with find out more about Botox here, then you're definitely in breach. I don't know if you want to add to that, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if you go into YouTube, there are millions of videos about Botox. And I think you're right. The idea is whether or not you're kind of like going, come and get your Botox here, it's 50 quid off, which nobody should be doing anyway, or whether or not you're answering, you know, what are the best treatment solutions for frown lines between the eyes or something like that. Then again, what you're then doing is answering that question. You're putting toxin as a treatment in conjunction with potential other treatment options that are available for that solution. So I think that's probably the best way to kind of look at it. One quick technical question, actually, that I've had from, funnily enough, a member yesterday, I forgot to ask you, was really around laser hair removal and people who are on courses of treatments. And, you know, obviously kind of being outside of that window, normally sort of every 6 to 8 weeks. And they were asking, some people were phoning up about whether they would be a problem in terms of continuity of treatment for that.
No, it won't affect the results. So they won't. I mean, obviously they'll have a break in treatment, but the ones that have been successfully treated will remain successfully treated.
Good.
And when they come back, it will just be a case of picking up where they left off. Yeah. Now, it might feel like you've got more hair, but that will probably just be because you have got like I'm thinking particularly like legs or places like that. It may feel like there's more hair growth. The hair might be, because it sort of comes back in sort of not explaining this very well. It comes back in areas or sections where the follicles all tend to be anagen in the same area or telogen in the same area, different stages of hair growth. So it may feel like it's coming back, but it's not. If you've had treatment so far, those treated will be successful, and you can just pick up where you left off.
So probably with that, it's certainly anticipating that maybe some people are sitting at home with those questions in their head and probably phoning up those people who are on courses of treatment just to you know, reassure them, I guess, the fact that there's not going to be a problem, and probably prioritize those for when they can start treating again.
I mean, you could do a video answering that question and email it out to all of your clients that are on that course. You know, that would be a simple thing to do. You kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You get to enter the competition and you're marketing out to your clients.
I think that's like a little trick as well. Like, it's a good tip. When you produce a video, that can feed so much content. You know, that video can be transcribed into a blog that can go on your website. You can take sections of headline from it and put it into social media posts. You can do podcasts with that content. So once you have that video content, you can use it in loads of different ways. So it's really useful to kind of start with a video, actually, because it makes sure you're succinct and you're to the point, and then you can roll that out across other platforms. Right. Well, I think we'll perhaps leave it there. Any unanswered questions, I'll pop answers to in the email that comes out afterwards. Just do a final check on this. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, thank you for the nice feedback as well, everyone. Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us, Ron and Martin. And yeah, well, good luck everybody with your entries.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to seeing them.
We're looking forward to seeing them. Have a lovely day, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.